Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.
Hello and welcome to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris, here at the 2025 BMO Global Metals Mining and Critical Minerals Conference in Hollywood in Florida. Gold prices and emerging gold producers are flying, and joining me is one of those, and also Kitco's 2024 CEO of the Year award nominee, Louis-Pierre Gignac, founder and president and CEO of G Mining Ventures. Louis-Pierre, welcome back to Kitco.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the introduction.
Well, it's very well deserved, as we'll get into. 2024 was a whirlwind year of success for the company, with the Tocantins gold mine in Brazil completed on time and on budget and now producing. The company produced about 64,000 ounces of gold last year, and you acquired the Oko West gold project in Guyana. And if to top that off, your share price went up about 100% year on year. Congratulations there. With so many achievements, what were you most pleased about last year?
Yeah, obviously getting TZ completed on time and on budget was something that was really our prime objective of last year, and also we did it very safely. And we had one LTI over the whole duration of the project, which is exceptional. So we're very proud of that achievement as well, that we don't mention enough. But that was really the great place to bring us to kind of re-rating on Tocantins by delivering it on time and on budget, and that kind of gave us the ability to do the Oko West transaction on the back of properly delivering on TZ. So, I mean, it all came together pretty nicely for us last year.
I want to sort of get into some sort of technical aspects, if I may. G Mining and your sister company, the technical services company, you have a blue chip reputation for the quality of the technical work you do. People in the industry say a technical study done by your technical services group is as good as it gets. And I want to put that in the context of, obviously not everybody uses your services, and a lot of companies are criticised for putting out, let's say, more promotional PEAs and studies, which ends up leading or resulting in mine builds that are subpar, and all the wonderful things that happens there. What's your view of how the industry does the technical studies, how it advances projects based on studies which may not be up to scratch, quite frankly?
Yeah. I mean, I think the differentiator there is the G Mining Services team, they actually build things. So when you're designing something and estimating what the cost is to execute on a project, we have that experience to come up with the proper estimate in the first place. And I think, as you mentioned, I mean, G Mining Services is a boutique firm, if you wish. So they're very selective in terms of which projects they want to work on and associate with. And it's also a bit of a sniff test of, is this a project that's going to keep moving forward to be, a mine? And so whenever they're working on a PEA, a PFS, or a FS, it's always with that intent that they want the best estimate possible, the most realistic estimate, that if they are hard to deliver on, that's what they think they can do. So I think it's just having that professional integrity to put forth the best project possible with the most accurate estimates. So that's how we've always approached things. It's not to create a document to sell a project. That's never the intention by anything that the G Mining Services team works on. So
we're at an investor event, so what would be some of the things you would advise investors to really focus on when they're looking at a technical document, produced by anybody, of course?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, a lot of junior companies are on limited budgets, so they don't want to invest that much in engineering. And rightly so, you have to judge how much you want to invest to de-risk a project, so getting better information or doing more technical work. But to me, it's important that geotechnical stuff is done, proper metallurgy, all those things that take quite a bit of time when you look at it, they need to be done properly. And the other thing I think most projects get wrong is any timeline they put forth is like assuming a project has permits and moves forward at day zero, which never happens in most cases. So time value of money will destroy a project pretty quickly if it's going to take 10 years before it
Okay, well, let's bring the conversation back specifically to G Mining Ventures. Tocantins, how's the ramp up there going?
Yeah, it's been very good. I mean, since we reached commercial production, we've had steady progress in terms of grade, recovery. Now the final tweak is really getting the uptime on the plant. But it's issues that we know can be easily resolved. We've had really exceptional days of exceeding nameplate capacity, 14,000 tons per day over many, many days. So I think this year we're really going to be chugging along very nicely. We put out our guidance for 175 to 200,000 ounces. And, based on our mine plan and when we get access to some higher grades, that's a bit skewed to the second half. But, when we put TZ online, it seemed like we were reaching all-time high gold prices as you're putting a new mine online. That we never expected. So it's like cash flow positive since day one.
I mean, the timing is great. There's no other way of saying that. And the gold prices obviously is continuing to increase. So in terms of looking at your balance sheet, what impact do you expect that to have on your balance sheet this year?
Well, we're continuing to increase our cash balance this year, and obviously that's with a view that that's going to be a source of capital to fund Oko West. And we're still showing our Q3 financials, but 120 million cash balance and then a growing cash balance from free cash flow from TZ. So that gives us a lot of runway to invest in Oko West before we put in a full financing package later this year. So yeah, we're very well positioned. We only have 113 million of debt, so very small debt level where we can tag on some debt to fund Oko West.
When do you report your full year 2024?
Yeah, we're still transitioning from TSXV to TSX, so it's March 28th. We'll have our Q4 financials come out. So yeah, it's coming, but we guided already on the production we did last year, which was very good. So.
Okay, excellent. Now, you made a bold step last year with stepping into Guyana with the acquisition of Reunion Gold, and as you mentioned, the Oko West project that you picked up there. What's the plan there?
Yeah, so the plan is to fast track that project as much as we can. We have tremendous government support to the extent that they gave us an interim environmental permit at the very beginning of the year so that we could get a head start on things. So this is the world upside down, where you have so much government support that you can progress on an accelerated timeline. That never happens.
You can actually plan.
You can actually plan, yes. And so we're advancing the feasibility study that we'll publish in April. In parallel, we're doing detail engineering on certain scopes because we actually have issued for construction drawings already that we're going to be executing on in the coming months. So procurement is a big phase of where we're at, and so we're going to be locking in a lot of significant components of this project already at this stage, and will be baked into our feasibility study. So plan is we're starting activities almost as we speak, and we expect to have our full environmental permit by May, June. So this is all coming in very nicely to call it an official construction decision right after that.
There's been gold production in Guyana for decades, but it kind of fell out of fashion for quite a long period of time, and now it's really coming back into fashion, and a number of companies are active there. What do you see as the potential in the country, and of course at Oko West, beyond what you already know is there in the deposit?
Yeah. No, I think, Guyana has great geology. Like you say, Omai was call it the first industrial large-scale gold mine back in the 90s. That got depleted, and obviously that was in a low gold price environment. So there's still remnant resources there that Omai Gold Mines is drilling. So it just shows the potential of these ore bodies are tremendous, and that's the same for Oko West. We have a great resource that will be updated as part of the feasibility study, so showing growth there. And everything that we've been involved with in the Guyana Shield, you have a day one estimate that will typically multiply over time. So that's the type of environment that we're working in. I think Guyana's come back on the radar of the mining industry per se, to be honest. So a lot more interest in the country. Everyone's kind of noticing how pro-business, pro-mining it is. And we're actually now underneath the oil and gas guys that are investing billions of dollars into the country every year. So
I want to ask you about that because there's been some major offshore oil and gas discoveries in Guyana. It's a relatively small country. Population is, what, 1 million? So it's got the fastest GDP growth per capita, certainly in the Americas, I think in the world, if I'm not mistaken. What pressure does that put on the mining sector in terms of, oil and gas, big money, can be very inflationary. We talk of Dutch disease. To what extent or not is that a factor in Guyana that you have to take into account?
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of activity in country, a lot of investment, not just in oil and gas, but call it hotels, restaurants to service the buzz that's happening around the oil industry. But when it comes to the mining sector, more in the interior of the country, these are a lot of populations that are not participating in that boom. So there's still a lot of demand for work and high quality employment. And that's where I think the mining industry can play its role, and that's why the government is wanting to sort of show a pillar to their economy.
So we're taking economic development outside of Georgetown.
Exactly, which is where it's all happening. So yeah, the Marriott in Georgetown is expensive these days, but other than that, I mean, it's not that bad.
Well, I had the privilege to go there a couple of years ago and visit your project when it was in the hands of Reunion Gold. I also had the pleasure to go and see your neighbour. Now, Oko West, another way of growing that, you've got your neighbour next door, G2 Goldfields, with their Oko project. They're side by side, so it seems to be a natural next step for you to sort of take out G2 Goldfields. And G2 Goldfields seems to be preparing for that eventuality, or somebody else coming in, of course, because they're spinning out their non-core assets into G3 Goldfields. Or are they preparing it for you?
I mean, we're a logical suitor. I think there's no doubt about that. It's a property that's an artificial boundary. It's the same deposit. I mean, it's an extension of the same deposit. So yeah, there's a lot of industrial logic to bringing this together, especially when you consider infrastructure and everything that's required to have a mining project. So we're definitely interested in seeing what strategic opportunities are there. We have a very robust standalone project, so we have that flexibility to weigh things out. But yeah, I think they've done a great job exploring. They've built up a nice resource, and I'm sure we'll be having a lot of discussions. So.
And I imagine there's many other companies that would like to have discussions with you. Given your success of successful mine building, the technical depth you have, I imagine you've got opportunities elsewhere. And I'd like to sort of, perhaps touch on that with my next question. There was a big M&A transaction announced on Sunday with Equinox Gold and Calibri Mining getting together. I interviewed the Equinox chair, Ross Beatty, yesterday. That video is now available on the Kitco YouTube channel. And he said that the emerging company, which has assets in Brazil, would look to divest some of those assets. Obviously, you've got a growing base in Brazil. Is that potentially another growth opportunity for you, picking up some of the Equinox's assets and knocking them into shape?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to see what kind of value we could create with additional assets in Brazil. I mean, we have a lot on our plate. We have Central Gold that we acquired from BHP that has, as we've just updated a resource on, is 2.6 million ounces of global resources with 80 kilometers of strike length on a full greenstone belt that we own. So we have a lot to chew on and create value with. But yeah, we're always looking at opportunities to grow, but with high quality assets. And, with Tocantinzinho, Oko West, allowing us to produce 500,000 ounces. These are assets that a lot of people would like to include in their portfolios as well. So we have a lot more interest in what we've developed and what we're putting together. So.
That deal with BHP, I think, was a real standout because, with all due respect, you're a small company, they're a giant company, and you could say they just sort of gave it away.
Yeah, I think what they felt is, obviously it was non-core for them. It was non-core for the previous owner. So it's been a project that's been non-core for many years now. And so I think from BHP's perspective, they wanted to make sure it went into the hands of someone that could do things very responsibly, and they felt that we had that track record in Brazil already to do the right things. So yeah, we felt it was, you know, a good transaction for us, and they were happy to kind of exit from Brazil on the gold side.
I think for me it sums up one of the key things people say about M&A. For it to be successful, it's about having the right assets in the right hands. And as you say, it wasn't core for sort of two previous owners. Now it's got a much bigger position or greater importance in the hands of somebody that can really do something with it.
Yeah, I think that's the case. So.
Now, many companies seem to be very adverse to any geopolitical risk at the moment. The keystone of the Equinox transaction that I mentioned is 2 long-life Canadian assets. A number of companies are really focused on Canadian assets. So does that leave the field clear for a company like G Mining, which is very comfortable operating in Latin America, to sort of pick up underappreciated assets and really generate some good value?
Yeah, I think we're very happy in Latin America, like the Guyana Shield in particular, Brazil. That's basically a sweet spot for us. So I think we can operate more efficiently in these countries than a lot of other companies. So it's a bit of a competitive advantage, and we're happy to look at anything in these jurisdictions. So yeah, for us, Canada is more challenging to permit something, to staff and hire. And so yeah, everyone refers to Canada as a Tier 1 jurisdiction. I'm always trying to figure out why it's a Tier 1 jurisdiction in people's mind. But
now, we are at an investor conference, and one of the things that people say to me that for investors to come back to the gold sector, they want to see a bit of excitement. G Mining Ventures has certainly been an exciting company and looks like it will continue to be so. So the question is, are you attracting new investor interest and or corporate interest?
Yeah, I think we've seen that. We've seen a lot more generalist funds come into G Mining Ventures, a lot of emerging market type funds as well. So I do think there's that coming back to the gold space and looking for interesting stories and interesting management teams. So I think that's where we're able to resonate with some of these funds. They see the growth path that we're on with Oko West, and I think in a rising gold price environment, people want to see growth. And within the intermediate space, there's actually not that much growth forecasted for the coming years. So I think it's a good timing for us to attract these new investors at this time.
Okay. It's a very successful 2024, so you've perhaps set the bar very high for the future. What are some of the key milestones that we can expect to see from the company this year?
Yeah, like I said, feasibility study, full permit, official construction decision on Oko West, and then we are investing $20 million in exploration across our properties. So I think continued resource growth over the year for sure. So.
Okay, now Louis-Pierre Gignac, you had a great 2024, but the accolades are not finished yet. As not only are you one of the nominees for the Kitco Mining 2024 CEO of the Year Award, you are the winner. Congratulations. And I have the great pleasure in providing you with our CEO of the Year Award.
Very happy to receive this.
Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.